Testing 1 2 testing. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Hoping everybody can hear me out there. Yes, I think I see some people out here in the audience already. Luomi, how are you doing? As well as Jolt Dude, two of my lovely mods. Professor Q is here. Hello. So yeah, I'm a little nervous about this. This is my first time actually doing something like this, but you know, I've always wanted to do something like this, so we're going to give this a shot. This is going to be the very first ever test run of doing a production stream. This is just going to give me a chance to show people what I actually do down here in the studio when I'm putting together some beats. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be very interesting. There'll be some things many people don't expect, but I think that's also part of the fun as well, just seeing how other people get into the creative process, making music and stuff like that. So without further ado, let me just hit that button right here. How are you guys doing out there tonight? I hope you're having a good time. Hope you're having some way to like cool down from all of the weather out there. It's been really, really bad. I know it's been horrendous. Yeah, right now I'm playing some lo-fi in the background until I get ready to load up something here in the DAW. And you know, DAW, the DAW, that means digital audio workstation. I think some of you guys out there already know what that means, but still, the DAW that I actually use is not the most common one. It's been around for a very long time. It's just not the most common one because, you know, when you think about people producing music, you think Logic, you think Pro Tools, you think Ableton Live. There's a lot of Ableton Live users out there, and I actually have that on my computer too. And you also have Fruity Loops Studio or FL Studio. They don't call it Fruity Loops anymore. But I use a program called Acid Pro. If you look over here, actually, let me just give you a little click on the magnifying glass. You can see itself. It's Acid Pro. Now, the history of this program is really, really twisted. It's been around since 1999. And this program was originally created by a group called Sonic Foundry. And they had made one of the very first programs that could actually allow you to drop loops or sound effects or anything into its program. And what it does is that it matches everything to tempo. And before, if you wanted to work with a lot of loops, you had to do all sorts of work to make sure everything was matching at the same tempos before you actually could sequence with them. But this took away all of that guesswork. It had an algorithm that just knew how to match beats and do the math for you, so you could just get to working very quickly. And how about I showcase what that means? So I'm just going to turn down this music here for a little bit. And I'm going to go into, let's see, my sound library. And when, you know, I have a whole bunch of like folders and loops and sounds. You can get them from all over the place. There's like royalty-free groups out there like Loop Masters, and yeah, Loop Masters is one of my most popular ones. But you can get loops and sounds all over the place. Like, you can get royalty-free stuff. You can even sample your own music collection, which a lot of people do. So whatever songs you have out there, if you like a certain beat off of it, yeah, sample it. You never know what you're going to get. But for instance, let's say we're going to take the BPM here. We're going to start at about 124 BPMs. Simple house track. We'll turn a loop on right here. So this is a 9-beat measure right here. And what we're going to do, we're going to go through this folder called Essential House. In here, there's a bunch of different loops. There's house beats. Now, all the house beats in here are marked at 128 BPM. But if you go in here and you can preview everything, this will actually, when I put any beat up here and I can just draw it out, it'll automatically make that beat go to this tempo. 124 BPMs. So let's see if we can get some audio over here. And yeah, let's try to turn this down a little bit so I'm not trying to blow out everyone's eardrums here. That would not be really good on my first production stream. Oh my God, my ears. You know, can't be hurting people's ears and stuff like that. Well, that groove went on. Let me turn on the loop feature on that so they'll just keep playing. And I'll turn it on again. And that was just the basic idea. You can take any loop, any sound effect that you want, and you can match it to this exact whatever tempo you want. Like, seriously, if I wanted to like bump that up to 175 BPM, watch what happens. It automatically just adjusts everything. And simultaneously, if I slowed it all the way down to 60, or in this case, it went down to 70 because I have my program set up to deal with most dance and house tempo. So, you know, they're not really doing things at 60. But I'm going to go back up to 124. Y Knox is in the house from Vancouver. How are you doing? No, I do not have Cheetos, but you have them. I can see your emotes over there. I just recently found out that's a finger. You know, I'm really slow with that. So you've been posting fingers here all along on my chat, and I've been calling them Cheetos. My goodness. Happy Place Travelers in the house now. How are you doing? But anyhow, let me go back into this. So we already have one beat going here. You can now add on to this. Let's say we wanted this shaker here. We'll add that here, and let me turn down the preview because I'm going to show that a little bit later. But now you can just draw this shaker right in the same place, and it'll also add to the beat, like so. You can turn it down like this a little bit. But you get the general idea. Any type of sound effect or any beat that you have, it's going to automatically set it to this tempo at 124 beats per minute. So now say that you have these drums and you want to get like maybe a slightly synthier sound. Say we found something here that was kind of cool. Actually, some of my folders are empty. Yeah, unfortunately, not every single one of my sounds comes out here in these folders. I definitely have to do something with my PC. But I'm going to go to a folder that I know has a lot of sound effects. This is like one of the very first royalty-free loop kits that I purchased. And I purchased it along with, oh my goodness, Gualtier Molde. How are you doing, baby? How are you? Thank you so much for the resubscription. So yes, New Directions. That kit is a royalty-free kit that I purchased a long time ago with Rick Corbo. We've had this kit for like over 20-something years. And yeah, it is one of the best royalty-free kicks for like, deep, soulful, and jazzy house. And the elements in there are nice and clean. So if you're ever looking for like a good kit to start with, if you find New Directions on like any one of the websites that are out there, definitely give it a purchase. You will not be disappointed. Gualtier Molde with the siren. How are you? So yeah, let's go through this folder. And now we're going to find some pads or something like that we're going to add to this. So I'm just going to pick one at random. I did not come into this with, well, at least this part of the show, I did not come into this with like anything really planned. I just want to show you like what this program can actually do. So we're just going to grab this random sound, this random groove, and we're just going to draw it in here. Oh, interesting. So it would be kind of funny that I would find this one. This sound effect I actually used in one of my first remixes. I used it on a remix for an artist out of Portugal named DJ Petsy. And I think Wynox will know what I'm talking about. It was on Magna Recordings. That's the label from DJ producer Carlos Manassa. And the name of the track was called The New Dimension. Well, it's called The New Dimension, but they said Dimension because that's just how they pronounced it in Portugal. And yeah, that was a really good record for us. Explosive Radio's in the house. How are you? How are you? What's going on? So yeah, now we got this little groove going on here. We got a couple of drums. We can add more things to it. We don't really have like a really thumping kick. So why don't we just go and just try to find one? I'll go through my folder here, and there is a good folder for it. Defected. Notice there's a lot of labels right now. There's a lot of labels right now that are making royalty-free loops. And there's a lot of artists that are doing the same things. Like, if you go to Loop Masters, you can find a lot of this content. And it's not that hard to purchase, like, a whole thing. Depending if you just want certain sounds or if you actually want them already set up for particular programs. Like, you can actually get them prepared. They're all, prepared for using it with, like, Machine. Or if you wanted to use it with, Ableton Live or something like that. They can prepare the loops and sounds for you. So yeah, defected ATFC. ATFC, everyone knows them in the house music community. I mean, they've made records forever. But let's go in here and let's just get a kick noise. And we'll put that there. Now, what I've been doing has been working with loops. Another way to work with this program is to use one-shots. And they sound exactly like what you would think they would. You literally get one instance of the sound, like so. Now that's the kick. Watch. Let's try to turn that up a little bit so you can hear it a little bit more. You know, this is just being done on the fly. None of this is actually done for an actual, as an actual track right now. I'm just giving you a slight demo. Happy Place Traveler. So serious. Well, that's a good question. Happy Place Traveler. How does it differ? It doesn't really differ that much at all, but the thing is, this was one of the very first programs to actually do it. Yeah, this program came out before GarageBand. It's the reason why a lot of people don't know about it is because it's PC only. Now, there's ways of running it on a Mac through emulation and things like that, but because this is a PC only program, a lot of people didn't really get into it. In fact, let me actually just turn this off a little bit because let me turn that off a little bit because I actually have a very interesting story about that. Yeah. So this program comes around and everyone is like buzzing about how this can match up loops and sound effects really quickly. And I remember being at the Winter Music Conference. Okay, the Winter Music Conference is around, and they're talking about music production at home because this was like one of the first times when people realized you could make their records at home and you didn't have to rent out massive time and massive studio spaces like, you know, the Hit Factory or anything like that in New York City. So what was happening, they had a great panel. Danny Tenaglia, Deep Dish, Todd Terry, Razor and Guido, Roger Sanchez. I mean, you could just think about the people who were there, like the who's who of music at that particular time. And they were talking about the things that they were doing at home. And, you know, these are people who are already making big records in the major studios, but now they're starting to move things at home. And everyone was talking about their setups. Deep Dish, believe it or not, was actually, you know, one of the panels. Deep Dish had just won the Grammy for Remixer of the Year. How you doing, Joshua D? What's going on? How are you doing? How you doing, baby? So anyhow, they all started talking about the DAWs that they were using, and a lot of people were mentioning Logic because Logic was brought out by Apple, and a lot of music producers are Apple users. I mean, that's kind of been like a thing, always. But anyhow, you know, there were other programs mentioned. Someone raised their hand and actually asked about Acid Pro at that time because everyone kind of knew there was a buzz about it. And then it kind of went a little silent. And then someone I'm trying to remember exactly who it was. Was it Maurice Joshua or something? They said something like, and now we have the latest information and news about Acid Pro for the Mac for the Macintosh. And then it went silent again. And then people kind of giggled because they all understood what they were trying to talk about. The fact that Sonic Foundry never made this program for Macintosh kind of like made a lot of producers back then really snub their nose at this program. And it's a shame because it's a very inexpensive program and it's really powerful for what it can do. And I do know a lot of producers who got their start on this and still use it up to this day. I still use it because, like, you know, it's one of my first ones. It's my baby. But, you know, even after it got moved on to different platforms, when it got moved on to different companies, like, it got bought out by Sony at some point. And Sony did a couple of updates. And then for the longest time, they sat on it and did absolutely nothing. And by that time, Ableton Live came about. By that time, GarageBand was already had its feet like firmly into production, as well as Logic. I mean, Logic was always there, but that just made it that much more difficult for people to notice this program. And then over the last couple of years, it was recently purchased out by Magic Software. That's the reason why we're seeing a lot of new updates now. But, you know, it's still PC only. And that is something they're going to have to work on. They really do. I love this program. As someone who represents the program, someone endorsed by the program, by the website, by Magix, I love this program. I will always use it, but they have to make a Mac version. It's not enough that you can emulate it. That way, if you love core audio and everything else like that, that you can use this program and get that great sound that people like out of like core audio and Macintosh hardware. But they have to make a Mac version. Like even FL Studio understood they couldn't just be PC only, and even they have a Mac version. So they have to do the same thing too. But beyond that, let's get back into this. Let's just get back into the music here. Whatever this is turning out to be, you know, I'm going to turn down the master volume on this a little bit because I don't want to blow out people's ears. But anyhow, last thing that we did, we added a one shot to this. So the one shot just is exactly what it sounds like. It's just one instance of the actual sound effect. So like now I can add in a kick like so. And you know, if you know exactly where to place it on the timeline, you can do all sorts of crazy things with this. So let's see, we will make this a half note. The possibilities are endless. There I am just dressing it up with a beat, with just a simple kick right there. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make sure that this goes on. And we'll just keep going and make sure it's there. Because I'm talking on a microphone, using my hand and holding up my microphone here, I cannot work as fast in this as I usually can, but I'm sure by the next one I will have like a proper microphone arm. I had one somewhere, but for some reason it's not together. I can't really find it. But you know, that's another story for another day. So now we got a beat going. You know, you can mute out any parts of the tracks as you want to by hitting the mute. So say you didn't really care that much for this groove. Say that groove was kind of getting on your nerves. It'd be very easy to just replace it. Let's go to another folder here. This is another very popular group sound files and stuff like that you can find. DJ Chus and Stereo Productions did a sound kit a long time ago, and it's still really good and really relevant. So we'll stop the track right now and let's just kind of go through some of the stuff that's in here. Like they got a folder there called Iberican Grooves. Like we can start with the first one. This program, like many other programs, will give you a chance to preview the groove before you decide to add it to your sequence. So you don't always have to like do things aggressively. You don't have to mess up anything. You can just preview it. So let's try something else. The funny thing is, with some of these loops, you might actually recognize some of them in some of your tracks. Explosive Radio. I saw that shout. Does Sketch use Acid Pro? I didn't know that. I thought it was an FL Studio user. You know, all the programs are valid. They're all good. You can make beats like this and make tracks off of anything. I think there's a video of I think it was Felix the House Cat doing a track called the track Big Fat Kick Drum. He did the whole thing off of an iPhone, including the video. And it was insane. But that's a different discussion for a different day. But there you go. You can just go through your folder. Okay, Joshua D, that's a little shady, but I'm not going to say anything. So yeah, this folder has a lot of those types of grooves that you would expect from the early days of stereo productions. It's that type of tribal. And you can do this, all that. So how about what we'll do is this. We're going to take the kick. We'll solo that. So now hopefully this will play right. So we just have that. Now we can preview. Now when we preview some of the other loops, they also go at the same tempo. So that gives you a really good idea how the track is going to sound already in this program. And you can just simply choose another groove to preview and just listen to it and see what you think. Let's try a few. That's actually really good. I like that. I might want to add that. I might actually want to add that to it. So let's double click that. And now we can just simply add it to the sequence. Now we have this going on. Turn that up just a little bit. And now we'll turn back on these pads that we had from before. It actually sounds really, really good. See, this is why Acid Pro, way back in the day, it shook up the industry, because people realized at that moment, it took so long for people to match up all these loops together. You would have to use rewire and time stretch everything beforehand. But Acid Pro took away a lot of that and just allowed you to just drop things together and start exploring right away. And seriously? Okay. Lemon 8 is in the house. Now, Lemon 8, it is an honor to have someone like you here. Lemon 8 is amazing. If you guys don't know Lemon 8, then yeah, you're missing out on a lot of amazing music. He's been in this game for a very long time. So make sure to follow and subscribe to Lemon 8. He does amazing streams here. And check out his discography. I play a lot of his records. You've probably heard me play Sanctuary 1 time, 3 times in a show. Once in a while, you know. Lemon 8, it is really good to have you here. Thank you so much for this test run of a production stream that I'm working on here. But yeah, Acid Pro just made it this simple. You know what I mean? They'd have to make a Mac version of this at some point, because I think this would be a really interesting program if it was Mac native, just to see just how much more they would add to it. But we'll see what happens. So we got that goofy groove going on. That's actually not a goofy groove. It's actually kind of nice. I mean, I was kind of liking that. But what I'll do is I will go through some folders and try to find some other things. So we got a drum. We got a little bit of percussion going on here. Something very simple, and the shaker. And then we have the chords right here. And then we have, that's another drum too. These are all drums. 4 tracks of drums. We have these chords. Let's see if we can find another another synthier sound effect or something like that. We'll start playing again. Oh, that's the shaker that I took out before. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this. Say that we like this groove. I am now going to draw it out a little bit longer. And so we can do this here. And I am going to copy these drums here. Copy. Where is my copy? There we go. And then we'll go here and we'll make sure to paste them. There we It is weird trying to do full production. It's weird trying to do production with just one hand. I am definitely going to try this again. The next time I do the stream, I will definitely have a mic. A mic stand, so like I'm not doing it one-handed here. So what we're going to do, we're going to extend. We'll go this back to the beginning. And now we got the loop back on now. We'll turn on everything. And simply, if you just wanted to play it like this, and notice like you can move any of the pieces that you wanted. Like I moved the shaker that was over here. I moved it to this point. And now that way you're able to build up tension. It's very simple. And then this way, depending on exactly when you wanted to bring certain elements in, you can actually just... I'm already getting ideas on how to sequence this a little bit. So let's actually do that. Let's actually play around with this a little bit more. So I like this groove starting out like this. And what I'm going to do here, I am going to move that to this point. I'll take all these beats right here. I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to, since I started with this top beat here, let's see if I paste this properly. There we go. So now I want to also paste it again here. And we're going to draw that out a little bit more. And what we're going to do here, just to make sure we can get this done really quickly, we're going to move the shaker right over here. And just let it stretch out right there. And I'll put a loop. I'll loop this whole thing so like it doesn't just end cold. And we'll just press the button and we'll see what happens. Whoops. It's faux pas number one when you're producing a lot. Sometimes you will always have your tracks muted when you don't want them muted, or soloed when you don't want them soloed. That happens. You'll be doing that for an eternity. So just get used to it. Sorry about that. Why Acid Pro? Well, for me, it was the first program I ever learned on. Believe it or not, I was actually taught Acid Pro. I was shown Acid Pro by DJ producer Darren Friedman. He was part of Spike Productions. That's when he did records with Hex Hector. He had actually called me over and literally wanted to show me this program, because like he had got like an early copy of it. And you know, back then, like when you were doing music, you were using a program like Studio Vision Pro. You were doing things, and you needed like expensive hardware, expensive computers. Like it was all done mainly on MIDI. If you did samples, there were a lot of mechanical things you needed to put together with it. I mean, it was a fun time to do music that way, but like if you wanted to do it at home, you had to save up thousands and thousands of dollars in order to put together music. So most people weren't doing it at home. Then this program came around and it was like, oh my God, now we can kind of do it at home. Yep. This program kind of changed the deal for a lot of different things, and now my phone's ringing. I don't know why, but I'm gonna play what we've done so far, and you guys let me know what we've done in the chat. And now the sound effects will come in properly. So see, it's that simple to just start sequencing and putting grooves together. And, you know, it made it that simple and that easy to make any type of groove in any type of track. There was nothing that was like this when this first came out. I mean, everything kind of does this now. But, you know, this was one of the very first programs to do it. And I'm sure if this was out with the Mac version on the day one, what we'd be seeing for software, I'm not sure what the outlook would be right now, but like this would definitely be there'd be a much more presence of this program. Happy Place Traveler. What does this do versus a multi-track sequencer? Well, this is just a standard straight up DAW. I mean, you can actually, you know, you can hook up MIDI instruments to this all day and work with it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of instruments that are built into the program as well. Let me see if I can try to figure out where some of these things are. Like if you actually, this will allow me to get into some of the plugins over here, but you would have to add a new track here. Let's see. Let's add a new track. You can add a MIDI track. And then from there, there's all sorts of instruments you can get from it. And those are already built into the program, as you can see. There's pianos and synth leads, like all sorts of things just that already just comes with the program. And of course, you can use third-party plugins. You can use third-party synths and instruments as well. But yeah, this is more like a traditional DAW. I wouldn't be using this for like a live performance thing. For instance, like I know with a lot of Pioneer gear, you can definitely do live performances with it. I mean, it's kind of set up for it. As well as Ableton Live. That's definitely one of the few things that gives that a huge edge over Acid and many other programs. But oh my goodness, yes. Reason, yeah, that was a really good program too. I used to sit around with Reason and just use the redrum and just make a whole bunch of beats out of it. And then once you have like a groove on it, you can click on like a shuffle button and it would just change a lot of the tones, but keep the same type of groove. And I would make drums on that all day, all night. I used to love that program. I should start using that more often. But anyhow, you know, that's the basics for Acid Pro. And I mean, of course, you could do other things with this as well. So let me see. Let's start this up again. Let's find another. Let's see another folder here with some sound effects in here. Goodness. What types of sounds would you add to this? Anyone have any ideas, any suggestions as I'm looking here through all these friggin' folders? That is one thing that happens. You wind up getting so many royalty-free kits and all these different sounds. You can easily get yourself overwhelmed and like have ideas and just like not know them. Okay, cowbells. This is the second person. You are the second person to talk about cowbells. So what I'm going to do, I am going to try to find a cowbell sample, if you don't mind. So let me go and see if I can find something interesting here. All right, I'm going to search my sound library for cowbells. I hope there's an actual loop here for like some good cowbells. And yeah, I'm sure it'll find something. As it searches and as it scans, there we go. We have at least a cowbell hi-hat loop. We can start there. Oh, this is a beat match thing. So we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this one in real time. All right. So you get a chance to see this. This is actually kind of cool. The beat matcher here. This comes up when the file is just like really long. It's longer than like your standard 32, 64 beat thing. And you get a chance to time stretch it. And it gets into this thing called the beat mapper. So you start it up. You got to find the first initial downbeat. So let's start playing it. You know, this is simple. This is not like necessarily a crazy cowbell here. But once you have the downbeat, you click on next. And then the thing is, you want to help it learn how to learn the actual loop. You can also have a little metronome here to help you. That's without the metronome. You know, that way if you need a little bit of extra help trying to count the 4, when setting these loops, you definitely would need that once in a while because sometimes they go off. But then once you get to this point, now it's really going to try to go through the entire measure. And you can see where it might go off. And then from here, you can kind of nudge it a little bit and try to get it to find out and try to... This is a really messed up sample. Whoever played this one was not really thinking too well on it. But anyhow, once you get everything matched, you can then add it to the sequence, and you can actually have the entire sequence match that BPM, or you can just keep it as is. What I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it as is, and instead of trying to use the entire piece, I am just going to use the first 4 beats of it. So I will make this a quarter note. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can copy that page. I can copy this piece and paste it again. Put that right there. See, now what I'm showing you is that, like, just because you have a loop, that doesn't mean, or any type of sound effect, it doesn't mean you have to use the entire piece. You can actually use just a certain part of it. And then that way it makes you can get even more detailed with your mixes. And let me paste that there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put down the microphone just for a bit so I can do this really quickly because I don't want so hold on for 1 second. Let me get this going here, and I will do this really quickly. Hold on for 1 second, please. Yeah, I definitely need to get a microphone arm for this next time. But see, you can take any sound effect you want and just take one bit from it. Like many of times with drums or even with synths or pads or whatever I found that I wanted, I could listen to like a whole thing and realize that I only want one sound from it. And you can literally isolate that one sound and just use that all day. And if it's a loop, Acid will remember exactly where that is when you play it, and then it'll play it right on time with your sequence. It won't always play directly from the beginning. It'll just start from that one part. So that just makes it a little bit easier to sequence. You don't have to make a completely different file for it either. It's all right then and there. So now we got a cowbell. Now we can add in Happy Place Traveler. Do you like this cowbell? Yeah, I think cowbells work. Cowbells always work in tracks. I think we already know that already. And then we can bring the chords back in. This is actually kind of fun. I think I kind of like this track. I'm just sitting here messing around with you guys and just trying to show the basics of this program. And here we are. We actually have a pretty decent groove going on right now. So let's start that from the beginning, and we'll turn everything on this time. Take everything off of solo and. Okay, the way this is going, I might actually have to turn this into an actual track, which is actually something I like to talk about, because one of the things I was thinking about with this upcoming stream, this new stream, I wanted to get to a point where we could actually sit around with people who are watching, and we might be able to just take a new sound kit or royalty-free loops that I find someplace, and we could just make a track together. And if it turns out to be something that we like and might want to play, I can make that available to people who subscribe. You know, maybe if it's even that good enough, we can even release it on my label, SoundGroove Records. You never know. But I figured we should do more than just me sitting here trying to teach you how to make a track, because a lot of it is just feeling anyhow and just trial and error, like what we're doing here. And yeah, it could be a lot of fun, so. So seriously, right now, just by fooling around with this and talking with you guys, we've already made a track that's 1 minute and 32 seconds long, which basically is almost as long as like almost every pop record right now, on every brand new pop record that comes out on Twitch. Not on Twitch, on Spotify, because of, you know, everyone trying to be TikTok friendly. You know, so in a way, all I have to do is copy this one more time, and I can bounce it out, and I can like put it out on TikTok, and hopefully it'll go viral. But you know, I will not do anything that's silly. I like making longer records. You guys know that I like to make pretty lengthy records. But what I'm gonna do, I'm actually going to save this because I actually kind of like it. I think you guys like it too. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna save this on off. Look at those red lines. My goodness, my hard drives are full. La, 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 la. That's a whole different story. I'm going to make a new folder called production stuff. And we will save this because, you know, we may just come back to this at a future day. And we might finish it. And if we do, whoever's a subscriber, we'll just give it to you guys yet. I know. Jolt, dude, you could go over and spank me later. I should have a NAS over here, but, you know, I haven't set that up just yet. There's other things I want to do here in the Booty Lounge, and that is definitely something I need to do, but I'll get to it. But what I'm going to do right now, because I don't want to go too deep into this program just yet. We could do that in future episodes of this. I got to try to figure out an exact schedule for it as well. But I'm actually going to load up a track that you've heard me play on my stream quite a few times. Goal! Okay, so I'm going to have to learn how to get these effects to work properly here on this other computer here. It's not my main computer, but the trigger fire effects definitely black out the screen. That wasn't expected, but you know, I'm not going to complain about that. This is a test run. I'm going to load up a track that I've been playing here on my stream quite a bit. Some of y'all will recognize it right away as soon as I start playing it. So what I'm going to do, let me fade this out right now. You might have heard me play this song quite a few times. It's one of my white labels. You can check this out right now. This is actually the long version of the track. You guys know me. I like to make long versions of songs and remixes, but then I eventually have to do an edited version for people who don't have the dance floors that want 11-minute records. But for viewers of the DrumNation radio show, this will definitely sound familiar to some of you. You'll hear it. I think Gualtier Malde knows what this is. And I'm sure Joshua D knows as well. Yes, Joshua D, that's exactly what I called it. And after I play a little bit more of this, I'll show you why.
Strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song.
Yes, so yeah, this is my remix to Killing Me Softly, the Fugees. So yeah, I got the acapella to it. You know, there's plenty of places to find these acapellas. And yes, I added all the music that you hear on this is stuff that I added to it. So I'm actually kind of proud of this. So let's start going over certain parts of this. So Gualtier Malde, you were talking about the piano. And yeah, I actually did the piano. I did the extra piano parts here. You can get this part right here. I will zoom in just a little bit. And I will highlight just these two things right here. That is, I don't even know how to pronounce Kurzweiler or something like that. I mean, this is a very popular piano sound effect. You can find these, you can find this sample everywhere. You can find kits that give you like the entire range of keys to it as well. But yeah, I wound up playing it, and this is what it sounds like by itself. Very simple. But like, you know, all you have to do is just take the sound effect itself, you know, to take that loop, take that one shot, and you can just do all sorts of different effects. And of course, like with every DAW, they all come with built-in effects, reverbs, delays. I tend to use a lot of the effects that come with the DAW because they're made to work with them in a really nice way. And let me zoom out of that. My goodness, let me get out of that so you can see more. I didn't realize it was zoomed in like that. You get the DAW, the plugins that come with the DAWs. They work really, really well with it. I think they're better optimized for the program. You know, that way, for people who like to use a lot of third-party plugins, I mean, I know there's probably some piano plugins out there that are really good. There's probably some really good reverbs. I mean, we could talk about those things all day. But the thing is, it's like, when I first started using this program, I was using it on a really old PC. I didn't have a lot of power to it, so I had no choice but to get really resourceful. So I didn't have the Waves pack because I knew one Waves plugin would make my computer choke. And for all you streamers out there, you already know how plugins can make or the wrong video or something that you load up in OBS can make your entire computer go. It can make the whole computer crap to bed. So you already know that. So yeah, I used the simple reverbs, the simple delays. This is all built in. Both of these plugins, these versions of them are actually built into Acid. And yeah, I figured that would be the simplest ones to do. I should use Sylenth more, Joshua. I should definitely use that program more. But again, I am so used to using the things that don't use a lot of resources, and I got so used to using the plugins from Acid because I had no way of using any of the third-party plugins that I kind of just keep using them. I should probably move on to more advanced plugins, but sometimes simple is easy. You can literally I will take them off and you can hear each piece one by, well, not from that far back, but you can hear each piece. That's without reverb. Now we add the reverb to it. And now the delay. It's just simple and clean. And I've always had great results with these little plugins. And the thing is, you could actually use them in other programs as well, but you don't really get them unless you get Acid Pro. But Acid's really inexpensive. It's a very cheap program to get. So if you wanted to get it, you can get it from Magix right now. But I wanted to talk to you about this infamous thing that I call the cheesy gay synth. So you can only imagine what that is because, it kind of speaks for itself. I do have a tendency to give silly names to certain things. That kind of helps with my sequencing because it's when you want a certain effect, if you give it a name that you won't forget, you certainly will be able to find it at any given time. But let me show you what the actual cheesy gay synth is. It sounds exactly like this, and it's exactly what you might think it is. It's just a simple, I think, was it like the Virus or something like that? The Virus Pro, I think it was the synth called the Virus that came out, and it had all these really high energetic sound effects. Razor and Guido used them a lot and stuff like that. It was it's a very popular synth. But anyhow, I called it the cheesy gay synth just because it was on everything. And at some point I was just like, okay, look, I need a bass line. But they kept on using it, and I think I revolted, sampled it, and called it the cheesy gay synth. But the funny thing is, this is a very, very effective sound because when you use it with some of the other effects that are built into the program, you can do this with any DAW. This is what this sounds like. Yeah, super saw. That's what I think it is. I think you got it. I think you named it right. I Am Izzy Rock. I think you named it. You nailed it properly because the Virus was on everything. Almost the same way as the Perk organs, I'm trying to remember the Korg. I think it was one of the Korg Perk organs that was on everything at some point in the 90s. But yeah, took that same sound effect and I affected the hell out of it. Simple delays, reverbs, 2 different filters. All of these plugins that are here, these are all plugins that come in that come with the program. So they take up very little, if not any, resources on your computer. That's another really good thing about Acid Pro. Even with the newest versions, they take up very little resources on your machine. So you can run it on a really old machine. I could actually run this on a Core 2 Duo, and it would be very little, if not any, stuttering. As long as I'm not like trying to do like a track that has like, 900 tracks on it or anything like that. But yeah, there's a lot of good things on it. There is another plugin here that I will show, though, because I did kind of fall in love with it. It's kind of cheeky, but it actually does the job pretty well. Nicky Romero's Kickstarter. Now, who would have ever thought that like I would have a Nicky Romero anything on my machine? But believe it or not, Cable Guys did a really good job with this. For people who like to have like the simple sidechain, this actually comes in very handy, and you can just like drop it on any sound effect that you want. And with all these different types of settings, you can create a variety of different types of a lot of different types of sidechaining. You can see the envelope that's written there, that's drawn there. You'll see the sound effect, your actual sound, go through it here, and you have the huge WAV file. And you can actually see it in action, so you'll know exactly what you're getting yourself into when you play it. So, like, let's go back here, and I will play, once again, my favorite sound effect, the cheesy gay synth. And I'll play it. Well, not from that far back, but let's go back here. You can actually see it happening. If I wanted to, like right now in the mix it's 26%. If I really wanted to, I can make it really aggressive, turn it all the way up to 100, and then you could really hear it. So I Am Izzy Rock. You definitely know exactly what we're talking about. It's a very inexpensive plugin, and it really gets the job done effectively. May not be the top of the line sidechain, but sometimes you don't need top of the line to get the effect, and you can make it work. But this is at, let's see, like if you did something like that at 100%, now you could really hear it. You can really hear that effect that people have on tracks and stuff like that. And yeah, I have a little bit of a tail going on that as well, because I have to make everything have a tail. I think when I first started production, I did that whole thing where I put like reverb on everything, because you're first taught that reverb makes everything pretty. And I, like, my first few tracks had everything was reverbing to the point where it just sounded like one gigantic echo. But we won't go into that too much. But I did the Fugees using this entire program, and 35 tracks of audio, one shots, and all sorts of different things. And you can do full-on sequences with this very easily. And you can see just by us just playing around with just a couple of loops earlier how easy it is to just put a few things together and just like have a track, or at least a good foundation for a track, within a few minutes. What I'm going to do before I close out this session, because this is a test run, I am going to find a particular record that I just recently did, and hopefully it's still here. I just did this remix, and I really, really like it. You might have heard me play this a couple of times on my show recently, especially when I start getting a little proggy and a little progressive. And it's of one of my favorite groups, and that's not the right file. This is the right file. So you can only imagine you could do music of all different types of styles on this. So let's get into this. This is a group called Maisonnaire, one of my favorite alternative rock groups right now. And I just recently did this because I just really wanted to do a remix of their one of their projects. Got the acapella through a means I will talk about in another show. But this is me doing something a little bit more melodic. Take a listen to this and let me know what you think. I put envelopes on everything, as you can see. So Joshua D, I don't actually have an actual, I mean, I do like to sort out sometimes I do this. I like to sort out like the bass lines, the drums, the shakers. I like to sort them out with colors, but I don't have an actual color scheme. I just kind of pick one at random. Acid Pro doesn't really give you a lot of choices for colors for some strange reason. I'm not sure why. Let's see if I can actually get the colors out here. Yeah. You go here, believe it or not, I would expect Acid Pro to have a lot more choices for colors here. Or at least give you some sort of like spectrum wheel so you can choose your own. Or maybe that's just something they hidden in the program and I haven't found it yet.
Something that you missed kinda left me guessing.
Yeah, that is definitely the answer. So yeah, this is the Maisonnaire that I remixed recently. I was able to get the acapella through some various tools that are out there. There's a lot of really good AIs that I'll talk about on another stream. I did want to like talk about my the string noises. I do love the Miroslav strings. They are like very like almost like orchestra style. And I actually had someone who taught like chamber music, but was also into house music. He worked for BU and talked about like I would do all of these dance records, but then the strings would come on and you would think, why would these symphony style strings come through in a dance record? But it's like, you know what? It adds an extra level of dramatics to it. I just really like the sound of strings. So like, you know, I think. And of course, there I am using the Kickstarter. Excuse me. I tend to use the sidechain plugin, not necessarily as an effect, like that dramatic effect, but I like to use it to try to clean up the audio a little bit so that when you're playing over a kick drum or something like that, there's less chances of it like peaking. Like a lot of times the sound, like when there's too many sounds playing at the same exact time, that'll like force your EQ, and that'll force the master to just spike, and then you get these extra clip noises that you definitely don't want in your mixes. So I used Kickstart on a lot of different things and just let it take out just enough of it so it can all play over a kick drum. Nice and clean. Let me see. Let me give you a general idea. I'll turn on the kick noise right there. And what I'll do is I'll play this from the beginning. Play that from the beginning. You don't really notice the difference. You can still hear the string as it needs to be heard. And you don't actually hear the sidechain too much with the kick in place. So it cleans it up. It cleans up the audio nice and neat. I can turn off the sidechain and you can hear the same thing. It's kind of hard to notice. But in a club scenario, if too many things are playing at the same time and it clips, you can definitely hear that clipping effect on the speakers and it sounds nasty. So I use like some sort of like, I use this plugin. I use like some sort of sidechain on a lot of effects. Let's see here. Let's get back in the record and just play the whole thing. Yes, panning is very much a thing that I like to do a lot too, because you don't want everything coming out exactly in the center, and sometimes you want an effect to be slightly to the left or to the right or even behind you a little bit. Sound placement is very important. I do a lot of left-right here every so often, and then on certain things, certain sound effects and loops don't come perfectly balanced, so you wind up having to use it anyhow just to balance out those grooves that you really do want in the center.
How could I forget? It wasn't what you said. Something that you missed kinda left me guessing. I could come around, stay up another hour. We could talk it out if you just listen. Don't wait. If there's nothing I can do to change your mind, just say that you don't wanna love me right now. Don't wait. If there's nothing I can do to change your mind, just say that you don't wanna love me right now. Wait, if there's nothing I can do to change your mind, just say that you don't wanna love me right now.
Actually, that's really, really funny.
If there's nothing I can do to
I certainly do not have my Nightbot tracking my sequences or any of the remixes that I've done. So like it's showing you the last track that I played on my stream on Sunday. But this is my Maisonaire remix. I may make this available as like a private download to subscribers on my Discord. A lot of this is going to force me to do a lot more things on Discord because I do have like some really great ideas for this stream. At least I think they're really good. Once again, I'm going to be trying to connect this with my record label. I'll be showcasing projects that I've done. Like if you've heard any of the records that I know, yes, owned. Like, so if you've heard any of the remixes or tracks that I've ever made and played on my shows and you wanted to see like how I put them together, I could try to bring up the sequence here. I know a lot of different producers out here who know how to do their thing. I won't just be, when I get these other producers out here, I won't just be showcasing Acid Pro, obviously. We'll be using and showcasing the DAWs that they use to make their beats and their remixes. Like, we'll love to hopefully get Rick Corbo Susan Estera, and so many other people from SoundGroove out here to show all of you what they do to make their records and go even further than that. And yes, that groove that we worked on earlier today, I have it saved. Maybe we could turn that into an actual track and make that available to all of you guys and girls out there. That would be a lot of fun, you know. The subscribers could get the record right away, and we can make those who don't subscribe wait a couple of weeks before we re-release it on SoundGroove, you know, something like that. And a whole bunch of other things. This could become a big platform for us to just discuss music, to feel music, to enjoy it. You know, we can talk about different plugins, talk about all sorts of different things. That's what I really want this to be about. And yeah, I know I've been really fussy about this stream, and I've been promising it for a very long time because there's just so many different ways we can present this thing. I want to play one more sequence from my collection here. Now, as you look at the files here, so many of these things are like ideas that I started and never finished. Some of them are complete, but a lot of things are just like things that are all over the place. I will do this one because I do love this record. I've always loved this record, and this remix was very easy to do. So let's see, which is the final version. What was this one? You don't need to save the changes to that. So this is a record that I have closed out shows many of times. I've closed out my daytime and nighttime streams with this song. Sinead Harnett, really great vocalist, doing a lot of R&B. And one little hint for a lot of people who like to remix, like, always check out to see if your favorite records out there have either an acoustic version or a stripped down version, because a lot of times they don't have beats in them. And sometimes you can just take the record as is and just use it in the remix. And that's exactly what I did with this. And chopping it up and putting my own production over it, I managed to get this really, really cool remix to her song called Unconditional. Now, she has a stripped down version. It's acoustic. It's just her voice and piano. So everything else, for the most part, is mine. I added a few extra tiny piano parts. But the strings, the beats, the bass, everything else is stuff that I added to it. So let's check it out, and we'll go from here. Meat Bag Collector, how are you doing? Meatbag, we're doing really good tonight. I hope you're doing good tonight as well. I know I'm stuttering a lot. Had a little bit to drink that kind of adds to it, but testing out a music production stream for the very first time here. And I'm playing some of the stuff that I've produced and played on my show, the DrumNation radio show. Playing some of the sequences that I kind of sneak in the middle of the mix. I really do like this record, so we'll just let this one play a little bit more.
possible, then we can take it and have it all. This is unconditional. This is unconditional. This is unconditional. This is unconditional.
Beat Bag Collector, thank you so much for the follow. This record just kind of, it was so easy to do because once you had the piano and the vocal, you can just add everything else to it. Like, oh, let me take that stuff out. This is all the stuff that I added to it. Like my drum, my bass, the effects, and then it just shines perfectly over this acoustic version of the track.
You taught me to swim, and when you didn't have to, you took me in. If we can make it all possible, oh, then we can take it and have it all. If we can make it all possible, then we can take it and have it all. This is unconditional. 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 This is unconditional.
Yeah, I loved being able to do remixes like this. And this just kind of like I said, it just sat there. This original version of this record, when she did this, let's see if I can find it. I think I still have the information for this here. When it was stretched, it was like a record at 90 BPM when she did this version of it. I mean, it is a really nice R&B record, and there is a really good house mix to this. I'm trying to remember exactly who did the house mix. It's a well-known producer off of the fact that he did like a really good house mix to it. But like, there just needed to be a nice down-tempo, soulful, emotional version of it. And when she did the version with the piano, it was just sitting there just waiting to happen. So that's exactly what I did. I find stuff like this all day, and I can twist that into like a dance version. Like, you know, this is at 115 BPM. It's actually I really like it. I'm glad you guys like it too. And Lemonade talks truth. I mean, talking about less is more. I mean, I remember even DJ Pierre talking at like the Amsterdam Dance event, talking about we have all these programs that can do thousands and thousands and thousands of tracks if you have a computer that's powerful enough to handle it. But we have to remember that like a lot of the hardware they had back in the day, even before all this software came out, you would be limited to like 16 tracks, 8 tracks, sometimes even just 4. And they were using gear like that to make amazing music that's still timeless today. So just because you have access to all of these tracks, all of these plugins, all of these sound effects, you have access to so much stuff. You might not need it. And you know, let's see, this one is actually 26 tracks because I was actually using the acoustic track as a as a guide when I was stretching out a couple of different things. But yeah, there's only 26 tracks of audio on here, and most of it is just like, sound effects and swooshes and whooshes, little makeup to make the track sound a little bit more interesting. But anyhow, I really am very, very happy that like people are liking this stream and hanging out with me here. I am going to try to figure out exactly how I'm going to fit this into a regular schedule, into a regular thing here on Twitch. And we're going to try to do a whole bunch of other things. Even would love to team up with like some other musicians and other people who do music here on Twitch. And yeah, we can collaborate. Maybe I can remix some of these guys. And my goodness, I'm still like, honestly, Lemon 8, once again, for you to be here right now is just like, wow, that's a lot for me. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, I've always loved your music, and I think you've seen me in your stream once or twice. That's like acting a fool, posting a whole bunch of emotes and stuff like that. But I really, really love your sound, and yeah. A lot of my ideas come from listening to the people that I used to buy all their vinyl. I didn't get into production right away. I DJ'd for like 10, 20 years before I even tried to make a record. So all those old vinyls, that's where I got my initial ideas, and I try to present them my own way. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to end this, unless maybe I want to play one more thing. I'm not sure if I want to play anything else right now, because like I don't want to do too much on my first stream. I know this is kind of primitive the way I have it set up now, and I'll definitely add more to this. If you like what you see in here, make some comments in my Discord. You can get the link to that down on my profile here on Twitch. And that way we can start sharing some more ideas and figuring out more things to add to this. And it'll develop more and more. And I want to make it as interactive as possible. And just make it everything about music. And we can just celebrate it and love it the way we know we do. So that's the main goal with this stream here. And thank you for putting up with all my little technical difficulties and all this other stuff. Let me read down the list of people who are here. Let's see. Joshua D, always my sister. How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here. Explosive Radio, Tommy Styles, another amazing streamer out here. Both of those DJs bang tribal beats and tech beats really, really well. You want to check them out, make sure to follow them. Fiddy, how are you doing? Oh my goodness, Lemonade again. Thank you so much for being here. Matrix NYC, Meatbag Collector, Professor Q, Raver 1997, Ken Jones, Team Briscoe's in the house. How are you? Gualtier Malde, amazing DJ from Peru, also from the High Five Wednesdays. You should definitely check him out. He will surprise you with his sets all the time. He goes from like the deepest of the deep to the hardest of the hard, and that's what I like about him so much. He can always shake it up a little bit. Chris Lava, thank you so much for being here. Captain No Future, how are you doing? And Alicidra, hopefully I pronounced your name right. I have a tendency to butcher names really badly. People who've heard me try to mention names, especially after I've been drinking, they know exactly how horrible I am with that sometimes. But anyhow, I want to find someone to raid and let you all know that the next time that I'm going to be streaming will be on Wednesday as part of the High Five Wednesdays raid train. I'm going to be on at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be doing DrumNation Daytime, and that will also be broadcast on 102 DLG Radio in Orlando. That's a radio station that I've been working with for the last 2+ years. It's been a great ride with them, and I love being able to do my thing with them. So make sure to tune in for that. And don't forget, the High Five Wednesdays raid train gets started at 12 noon. And that starts off with Zaya XO. She does an amazing 3-hour techno set from 12 to 3. Then I go on right after her at 6 p.m. Right after I finish my set from 3 to 6 will be Gualtier Molde. He does a nice set out of Peru. Always surprises you with the mix, and usually you get a chance to see the sunset behind him as well. I call it the Sunset Sessions, even though he doesn't call his show that. Either way, make sure to check him out as well. At 9 p.m., we have our wild card. We have guest DJs in the Raid Train. And, some of the guest DJs include Joshua D., who is now doing streams in 8K right now when he wants to, in 360 degrees. He does amazing stuff. So you want to make sure to follow Joshua D., like I said before. Other DJs who fill into that slot: Explosive Radio, Will Silvano, Underground Wilma. The list goes on and on and on. So there's always a surprise at 9 p.m. We love to shake it up a little bit and just work with other people in the Twitch community. And, of course, at midnight, we have Felicia Villani down at the dojo with the Dreamland After Hours. She finishes up, and, we are all a bunch of insomniacs at some point. We do know that sometimes we can't go directly to sleep after doing all sorts of music and banging out all sorts of beats. So you can check her out to finish off the High Five Wednesdays Raid Train. So that'll be the next, like I said, you'll see me a part of that 3 p.m. on Wednesday. I see that Harmony is playing right now, and I love his stuff. I mean, I think you guys all know who Harmony is. If not, you should already know. And I will make sure you guys get over there and hear some great music, some great beats. Make sure to say hello, subscribe. Oh God, is it 3 eyes? Yeah, let me make sure I get this spelled properly. Make sure to send him all sorts of love, the same way you guys send me love and support every time you see me here on this crazy channel of mine where I'm trying to do some things that are interesting and whatever you want to call it. So yes, thank you so much for being here. I'll let you all know when the next producer stream is coming in my Discord. Stay tuned for the raid. And yes, once again, thank you so much, guys. I am really happy that this came out the way it did. And yeah, this VOD will be available, hopefully, if it doesn't try to block all my audio. But I will see you next time. Until then, take care. Have a great rest of your night or day wherever you are tuned in. Take care. Bye, guys.